Fried potato salesman and international peace envoy Gary Lineker has spoken out about the war in Gaza because he can no longer stay silent. That makes a change. It's funny that he can't stay silent because Lineker was deafening in his silence in the aftermath of October the 7th, the single biggest attack on Jewish people since the Holocaust, with the best part of 1,500 people dead, including the attendees of a peace music festival. Women were raped and tortured and beheaded. Kids burned alive, and the scorched corpses of innocent Jews paraded on the back of pickup trucks. Were there any personally written tweets about that from Gary at the time, a man who lives on Twitter? Nothing. The day after this particular horrific occasion, October the 7th, all we could find is this. An important victory for Arsenal in many ways. Declan Rice, the best player on the pitch, in my humble opinion. Oh, wait, no, there's a tweet under that. Maybe that's about the slaughter of Jews. It says heartache. Oh, no, heartache for City as Martinelli scores. It's really strange that Gary was so quiet. He's always on the internet and on social media sharing his views. I think this latest intervention from him is particularly disastrous, given the casual tone in which he referred to the true horrors of October the 7th. Take a listen.
Now, obviously, we all know what, October 7th happened and, the Hamas thing.
Yeah, man, we all know October the 7th happened, man. The Hamas thing. Translation, we all know Hitler invaded Poland, the Nazi thing, the Holocaust thing.
So I see it, I think, purely from the outside, as from a neutral perspective.
Yeah, Gary, neutral perspective, definitely. It goes on.
But the minute you raise your voice against what they're now doing there, you get accused of being a supporter of Hamas or, all this kind of stuff. So there is, there's a lot of heavy lobbying on.
Really, Gary? Heavy lobbying on people to be quiet? Have you not seen the so-called peace marches every weekend for half a year? And all the demonstrations, the encampments, and the loud booing at last night's Eurovision? But fear not, folks. These days, Gary is more than happy to speak out.
I'm fairly secure.
Fairly secure. Tell me about it. £1.3 million a year paid for by licence fee payers to introduce football clips. Sounds pretty secure to me. He goes on.
I cry on a regular basis.
So do I, Gary. Every time I've got to fork out £169 for my licence fee. He goes on.
It's not anti-Semitic to say that what Israel is doing is wrong.
Is it not, though, Gary? Let me hand this one over to the world's #1 podcaster and dropper of truth bombs, Joe Rogan.
What's crazy to me is, regardless of how you feel about how the Israeli military and the army is pursuing the war in Gaza, regardless of that, the blatant, just out in the open anti-Semitism that we see today is like nothing I've ever seen before. Like roaches coming out of the woodwork.
Well, that sounds quite bad, but Gary keeps on digging.
For, whatever the cause, whatever started it, and we all know that, the history of this area of the world goes way before October the 7th.
We all know that history goes way before crumbs, Gary. I hope you're not making an excuse for October the 7th like there was a justified reason for it. I hope you're not victim blaming the Jews who were slaughtered. It goes on.
It's the worst thing I've seen in my lifetime.
Really? Did he not see what happened on October the 7th? The attack which broke a ceasefire in which, of course, had existed, and also an attack which saw the torture and mutilation of innocent people, including children. Gary lives in London. Has he not seen the posters of the hostages taken, including children, women, and a Holocaust survivor from World War II? By the way, Hamas still have those hostages. Does that not weigh on Gary Lineker's mind? I'm trying to find a tweet from him somewhere about the hostages and their well-being. I might add that the Israeli authorities fear that many of those hostages are now dead. Now, I'm worried about Israel's response in Gaza. Are they going too far? You tell me. The deaths of thousands of Gazan men, women and children is a horrific nightmare and a profound tragedy. But it's clear that the scale of civilian casualties is the result of Hamas weaponizing human beings, which is why the fact that Hamas are winning the PR war in Britain's universities, for example, is sickening. Hamas are stopping innocent Gazans escaping areas that Israel have pre-warned they will attack, building their HQs in the basement of hospitals and storing their arsenal of dangerous weapons in primary schools. Israel must not break international law, and peace must come. But Hamas, who don't want a two-state solution, have got to be dismantled. They are no different to the Nazis, a hateful death cult who want to wipe Israel off the map, and to do October the 7th again and again and again. Their quote, not mine. Which is why it's probably unwise to be seen to offer their cause any sympathy whatsoever, something that Gary risks doing in this ill-advised interview. Particularly one of the key faces of our national state broadcaster, a man whose vast salary is paid for by the British public. Last word goes to the world's biggest comedian, Ricky Gervais. Note the audience response at the end. I'm not the only one that doesn't buy the Gary Lineker nice guy routine.
Well, I am woke now, and I can prove it. Here you go. I love illegal immigrants. Yeah, sue me now. Sometimes I go down to Dover for the day, right? And I look out, right? And look for a boat, and I see a dinghy with about 60 of them, and I go over here, like, right? And I pull them into shore, and I go, women and children first. They go, there are no women and children. Just you lads, is it? Just come on, lads. Come on, lads. I stand by the traffic lights and I wait for a big lorry to pull up, right? And I look underneath and there's a lad sort of clutching like that. And I go, where you headed? And he goes, Gary Lineker's house. I go, it's just down there.
Oh dear, the face of Walker's crisps just got roasted.